out. There's a lot of shit going down, and I can't talk about any of it. Suffice it to say, we are over the target, okay? I have noticed some quirky things going on with the algorithm of this lovely site, and other friends have been throttled a little bit. It means we're probably gonna have to diversify where we do this. I really can't stand Rumble because it's hard to upload things, and I don't understand Discord. So, but I am gonna have to learn to do some diversification. Want to talk about Andor. I really think not anti Benjamin Bratt. Let's say Jimmy Smits gets sick and he has some sort of chronic thing and he can't do the role of Bill Organa. I think Benjamin Bratt is a fine replacement. But saying they had a scheduling conflict is such bullshit that I can't. Okay. And look, the best part of this latest travesty, these latest 3 episodes of Ambor, were the Dyke getting killed. Anytime Luthen showed up, and Luthen basically telling Cassian, I want them to join the rebellion. I want the, look, if the Empire goes off on Gorman, they're going to pants themselves in front of everybody. And more people will say, fuck this shit, I'm done. Okay? And that's what's going to happen. So I understand Luthen's attitude. Watching Ben Mendelsohn chew up the scenery in the last episode was great, even though it was boring. Now we have Bix being a spice addict. Well, whatever gets you through the night, as John Lennon would say. Or as Cinderella would say, for some it's a bottle, for some it's a pill. Some people wave their Bible because it's given them a thrill. And there you go. So there you go. But anyway, so I don't really want to go through a lot of this for Andor. This is more of a Kathleen Kennedy retrospective. So just a second, I gotta go get my notepad. Gee, all of the faggoty bots Kennedy hired. Get out of there. Just a minute, I gotta get my notepad. And this is for my, for the newbies and to get everybody else up to date. Okay, so back in 2023, after Kennedy shoved the acolyte in everybody's face, and this was about a year after she was told that under no certain terms are we going to make the acolyte. Are we going to give you the go-ahead to make this piece of shit? And this was after they hired Karen McCarthy for a line producer. And she'd been up for being line producer for the highly successful Apple TV Plus series, Sugar. Hey man, yeah, it is. There's stuff going down. I can't talk about it, but we're over the target. We are fucking over the target, okay? I can say this, I'm getting throttled in algorithm. right now. No one is seeing this channel show up. And for someone with almost, I would say 3,000 subscribers, I should have at least 100 people in the chat right now. So I am going, okay, what the hell is going on? All right. Another friend has found some troubles, and they are dealing with it, I hope. And it's going to get resolved. But like I said before, we're going to have to diversify where we put our stuff. And I'm looking at Rumble, Discord, and I'll even just go on X and do these, because you can do this on X. I can upload these and I can go live on X and have people in chat. So if anything happens, I will probably do that, because I am a blue check mark at X, and I pay good money for that, and it's worth it. I think I'll probably be okay. So I'm still putting everything up here first. Fuck you, and you know who you are for doing this. And it's not who you think it is. Anyway, so, all right, let's go back. So I want to get everybody up to date on what happened. And we're going to start at 2023. Anything before then was, well, all right, the firing of Gina Carano, the hiring and then weird ghosting of Karen McCarthy after they hired her to be the line producer for the movie, for The Acolyte, after she moved to London and did all this stuff. So she not only had to pay for her trip out there, she had to pay to move all the way back. All right, so I would say they owe her money for that too, but 2023, Star Wars Celebration. Everybody's excited for Ahsoka and all the new, announcements coming out. Who shows up thinking, I don't know, and gets bamboozled, and it was a headline. Daisy Ridley had no idea that Kathy Kennedy was going to dump a Rey movie on her. So she shows up in that ugly red dress with her lack of fashion sense at all for her body. It's like, God almighty lady, we need to go talk, okay? Back in my day when I could wear stuff like that, I'd walk in and guys would be like this, and looking at Daisy, I'm like, the dress is wrong, the hair is wrong, we need to fix it. There's something off about her offbeat look that is just not movie star quality. So she shows up and they announce the Rey movie. Then, and this was all planned by Kennedy while they were going to do their, do the introduction for Ahsoka, and John and Dave were there. They not only drop a shit-ass sizzle reel that basically showed up in the entire fucking TV show, the entire cast and the showrunner, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, walk out onto the stage and undermine everything John and Dave were gonna do. John got so pissed off, and I saw this during the celebration. He walks off the stage when Daisy walked on, and they announced this movie no one had any idea about, and they still don't. Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, who's never directed a feature film in her life, a narrative film. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is amateur hour. This is fuck you on Kennedy's behalf. This is amateur hour. Now, this is going to bleed into something else. So Everybody's pissed, and no one knows what the fuck is going on. She upstaged John on purpose. White man bad. I can do this on my own. I'm a strong woman. My attitude. So we go into May at the Cannes Film Festival, and Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, the premiere at Cannes. She shows up in a dress that looks like she picked out at TJ Maxx. And everybody's there and ooh-ah, going ooh and ah and all the rest of that. The idiot stick figure from Britain with no soul. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is there. No date because she's too cool to rule. And the movie starts. While they're in there, Disney, and Bob Iger's there too, by the way. Disney announces they are shutting down the Star Wars Hotel. That was Kennedy's baby. They're also announcing they're removing Willow from Disney Plus. Do you see something going on here? Do you see Bob Iger saying, "You crossed the line. You are supposed to take your Viking funeral and then go away. Scamper away. Scamper away. Go, 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 go." No, she didn't at Star Wars Celebration. So Iger was like, "Okay, bitch, you want to play that game? I'm going to humiliate you at Cannes." And then it gets worse. So the week before Dial of Destiny opens, they have their premiere in Los Angeles. And George shows up with his wife, Melanie. Steven Spielberg shows up. Everybody's there. And Spielberg goes up and he does the introduction for the movies because him and George, they were the ones on the beach discussing it in 1977. And he basically, and you guys, if you've seen any of the videos, he basically cancels Kathleen Kennedy and her husband in front of all of the film industry at Hollywood. In the middle of Hollywood. There you go. Okay. I couldn't believe it. And how he did it, if you haven't seen the video, is the person who created Indiana Jones, he thanks George Lucas. The person who is Indiana Jones, the man who is Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. And the person who was the glue through all the movies, John Williams. You got Kathy and Frank standing there getting ready to take all the accolades. And instead, Spielberg completely goes to them with a big smile on his face. Harrison Ford posted so he could see their reaction. That's exactly what happened too. And you can't, look, as someone who's worked in politics, as someone who has gone to meetings where I've seen people get canceled, that was, you couldn't get better at that if you tried. There was an Academy Award performance by Steven Spielberg on that. Anyway, all right, so a week later, I'm in my car. I'm at the movie theater. I've got my ticket on my phone. Cameron calls. He's like, they just bounced Kathy off the net. They suspended her account off the Lucasfilm net. And I think it was the day all the lawyers showed up from Disney. The Nazgul and the Witch King of Burbank. And the rumor was, and I believe it, they basically looked at her email and went through it like, probably used AI and everything. Then Sparrow came out and they said on the Monday after, which would be the 3rd of July. So I don't know if this actually would be a meeting at Disney, but because it's the 3rd of July, she was having an Italian dinner in the food capital of the world Paris. It's like, go to Rome for that. You're in Paris. You know, go to one of those amazing 3-star restaurants and go for the tasting menu, which I would do, with the wine pairing, of course. She had a meeting. This is the rumor, Lucasfilm rumor. Iger, Alan Bergman, who took over for Alan Horn, Dana Walden, the idiot, several lawyers, and whatever. So here's the deal. Iger just looked at her and said, why did Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny fail? And instead of answering it, like the narcissist that she is, she started attacking him for, the Eternals and Captain Marvel being so bad and not doing well. And basically attacked Kevin Feige and him not being criticized because he's a man and all the rest of that shit. Iger, I guess, lost his shit. He's a very easygoing guy, but he lost it. And then she's gone for 40 days. She's on vacation. Meanwhile, the Nazgul are running around Lucasfilm, I guess, like hatchet men, you know, just investigating everything and everyone. And that was the moment when it appeared to everybody who was like connected to all this that Jon Favreau was actually starting to grab his seat as the leader of Lucasfilm. So that happens, and there's a rumor that her office, everything in her office had been moved out. Moving men showed up, a U-Haul, and just took everything out of the office up at the Presidio in San Francisco. We started hearing, just the weird shit about how The Acolyte got filmed. Jon Favreau saying, he basically saw what they had and said it was the worst fan film he's ever seen. It was garbage. I can hear him say that. So we get into 2024, and the new thing is she wants to sell her house. It was Carbon Mesa Road house overlooking Malibu Beach. And now I look at all the news things, and it was listed for it was $22,000 or $22 million. All of the news items that came out it was 18. That's what it dropped to. Because I watched that on Trulia like a fucking hawk. Okay. And then it went down from 22 to 18 to 14. And then they sold it for 12.7 almost a year later. Or like months later. It was a horrible, I can't imagine. Now, why did she ask for $22 million? Because that was the first price. And if I can find it on my phone, in my iCloud, I will find it. Because that's what it was listed at. That's what we're going to get into. So, she kind of fades away from doing any PR and any interviews. Go on. They dropped The Acolyte. And it went from no one's watching to negatives no one's watching to it got thrown over the cliff in Sparta and over at the edge of a building on Coruscant, and it's down at level 1313 and still falling. Okay. It now has a 19% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, that's how bad it did. And people were mocking it. But here's the deal. When you hire the former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, what the fuck do you think you're gonna get? I mean, when you look at her resume, Everything she writes is about her personal issues with her family. Okay, that's it. And that's what The Acolyte was. But, and this woman said she turned in her scripts for The Acolyte, and Kennedy said, you write really good Star Wars. Now do Star Wars with Leslie Headland. And that's what we got. We got garbage. We got fucking garbage. Now, how did this happen? Because when it was out there, we couldn't imagine Disney ever wanting to pay for this shit. And in March of, 2022, February 2022, Kennedy went to Bob Chapek and said, I want you to give us the green light to start filming The Acolyte. They had no scripts, nothing. He said, no, we're not doing that. And he was right. There's no value in this. There's no return on investment. So she tells Leslie Headland, who had just hired the line producer, Karen McCarthy, who, oh, by the way, is really good friends with Tom Hanks and his wife. And who's Tom Hanks good friends with? Steven Spielberg. That's how fucking networked that woman is. And instead of calling her directly, and I thought Headland just said, we're not doing this, you're done, you're fired. They ghosted her. What they did, she'd send an email, you need to pay me, and what else do you want me to do here? I'm doing this, and this, and listed everything. They just ignored it. They ghosted her like a girl would ghost a guy that she didn't want to date anymore. Just shut it off completely. And then McCarthy finds out basically that they let her go. I think it's so convoluted. It's like, what happened here? And then, she said, I would like to be paid, and started pestering them, and her agent pestered them, and her lawyers. They gave her $5,000. This is the woman who worked on John Adams, a critically acclaimed, well-watched series on HBO about the second president of the United States, John Adams. I am still like, you gotta be shitting me. So she, 2 years ago, filed a lawsuit against Disney and Lucasfilm for egregious firing and basically breach of contract, because they did hire her. In fact, I look at this and it's a slam dunk. Okay, so what happened? Again, Cameron Pasha and I put two and two together, and some other people did too, and said there was never any acolyte. There wasn't supposed to be an acolyte. And they hired her thinking that Chapek would roll over and play dead, and he didn't. So they got rid of the one person who probably would have blew the whistle and said, this is bullshit. We don't have any scripts. We don't have any money. Disney didn't give us the green light. They did everything wrong, and I would think that Headland would understand how to do these things, but she's stupid, so. And then they just started filming stuff. And we got word from Sparrow. They said that they had heard that money was leaving Lucasfilm and going to a shell company and going to other places, so Headland could film stuff. This is where the sizzle reel was born, right? They filmed enough to do the sizzle reel, probably did more. And what we got in 2024 last summer was probably stuff other people had to touch up because, I mean, you know, Jon Favreau was like, my name is not touching this. I don't want anything to do with it. He farmed it out to other people. And Disney eventually had to come in and bolster it. But where'd the money come from? This is where it gets weird. There is a shell company in Great Britain. If you go to Government House or Government, I can't remember what it's called, and you look, you will find Blue Stockings Limited UK. That is the Acolyte. And you look at the money they had. We surmise that there was another shell company, and we surmised that Kennedy did a lot of the stuff through her own wiles, getting financiers to borrow her money to make this, getting vendors. Producers do that a lot. In fact, you know, they often mortgage houses to get a movie made if they really believe in it. Turns out that in the end of this, the Acolyte was removed from the Disney Plus website. They weren't going to make a second season. It's gone. Don't even ask for it, because Jon Favreau is going to tell you to take a flying leap. He's got stuff to do. He's a busy man. Kennedy's Carbon Mesa Road Drive house goes from $22 million and gets sold for $12.7 million. Now we have a very well-regarded, most significant collection of social realist art up for auction at a gallery in Tribeca, New York City. A Shelkoff Gallery, which is a very famous gallery. And in fact, I believe one of Rudy's distant cousins actually showed some work there. I am thinking, why do they need so much money so fast, and why did they sell the house? Now, be that as may, as someone who looks at everything and goes, I could be a lawyer, and I understand this. They have sold property before. They sold a house on 1600 San Onofre Drive in the Pacific Palisades for a lot of money. Okay. And they bought B. Arthur's house. I found the article on Google in 2015, and I think this is the house that this art collection had been exhibited. That's where they had it. And about 6 months before the fires, they took everything to New York and got them ready to be sold by the Shelkoff Gallery for them. And it was supposed to be the most, like I said, the most significant privately owned collection of this genre of art. Now, it's not my cup of tea. Only one of the paintings that I looked at, or I don't even know if, I guess it was a painting, called The Jazz Musicians, the only one I liked. Everything else was, you know, a couple, you could take blue painter's paint or tape, mark out the edges and paint and pull them all off, and you would have the painting. I mean, so I don't get what the point was, but then Barbara Guggenheim, very famous a person in the art world in New York, of the Guggenheim Art Museum, basically said she met these two in about 40 years ago, and she was really impressed with how they said they were filmmakers that wanted to make socially important or socially mindful. Let me see if I've got this written down. Socially blah, 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 blah. Socially responsible storytellers. All right, I could get into this. I could look at any of these artists and look up their party affiliation, and I bet you it said communist. Okay. All right, that's what all this shit was. Like I said, the only one that had any real life to it and real, I think, magic is the jazz musicians. And it would be great to see like a lounge setting with a piano bar. You know, people are sipping martinis. You know, you got somebody on the bass, you got the guy on the piano, you got somebody with the horn. And that would be cool. And maybe a singer. All right, that would be cool. But, that's it. I mean, I don't, my idea of socially responsible art is Michelangelo, Buonarroti, Caravaggio, Johannes van Meers, Vermeer, Van Gogh, all right, Claude Monet, Manet, Gainsborough and his outdoors paintings. I really don't look at stuff like this with no life in them as being something I would want in my house. If someone said, let's go to the Shelkoff Museum and see this art exhibit, I'd say, I don't want to do that. I'll just go to the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art and go through the Monet exhibit again. I'd rather do that. Okay. And maybe, I'm pedestrian. But when you look at buildings now compared to cathedrals that took 800 years to build, and you look at the beauty and the majesty of that, and you look at the flat, dull, monochromatic crap that we've got, here's the problem, okay? Here's the problem. Art should uplift you. The girl that we know that's the art instructor at, I think, New York University, she's a really good artist. I would say she's a master at the craft. She puts life into rain puddles on a New York street. The light, the colors, everything, all right? When she draws a celebrity, like, I'm gonna say Nick Cave, there's life in those eyes because she cares about the subject. An artist is only known by the beauty they create. And I think an art collector is only known by the art that they collect. My dad collected wildlife prints, ducks, geese, eagles, things like that, because he was an outdoors person. And that's what inspired him. I mean, you're out there every day, you see it, and it's breathtaking in life. You want to bring that into your house. I do horses, and we do military things. And it's like, the reason why is because Rudy is a 30-year Marine Corps colonel, and I'm a military historian. I'm a historian basically, but I do a lot of military history. And we do that. And I love horse racing prints. I've got one of Man o' War at Belmont, and it's absolutely breathtaking. And he's just standing there, but you look at the picture and you're like, that horse could turn into a tornado in 3.5 seconds. And he could, because he used to. That's what he did. Because he was an asshole. He was the goat, but he was an asshole, okay? And he knew he was the goat. He would just walk around going, I'm the coolest guy at Belmont. And everybody said, yes, you are. And it's also almost, it's going to be Derby Day on Saturday, and I have my picks. I will tell you who. So anyway, so why did she sell this majestic, I think there were like 40 pieces, probably more. And quite a few have sold, all right, from what I could see. What you need the money for? Look, you don't collect something like that to sell it. It's an investment in the future. You collect it to expand your legacy. You collect it so when the entire collection goes up, a museum says, we will buy the whole thing, and it will be on its own area with the Kennedy Marshall exhibit. Okay, that's what you do. It's pretentious bullshit. And a lot of the people that collect art like that are dilettante. They collect it not because it means anything to them. They collect it because they look cool to everybody else. And that's the only reason to collect it. So why? And we figure that basically Disney said, you are paying these financiers off. We're not going to. You are responsible for the Karen McCarthy mess. We would like to settle with her. And there's a reason why they haven't settled with her. And it's because they're not taking responsibility for this shit. They're not. And Bob Iger might be an affable guy, but he is a survivor, and Bob Iger's also a hard ass. Okay, so what I think he did is exactly that. So people are these Kennedy and her husband are scrambling trying to pay for all this. Now, I don't know how much money it would have taken to pay for just the sizzle reel and other crap that Hedlund shot, but was there any money being skinned off the top of Dial of Destiny for this? Was there any money being skimmed off the top and added to Andor, that they added it to the budget and then moved it to the Acolyte? Andor cost $750 million. Okay. Have you seen the first 6 episodes? I have. And I fucking can't unsee it. I'm gonna go poke out my mind's eye. I'm like, where'd the fucking money go? Because if there was cross-pollinating for the Acolyte, and the Acolyte's long gone, it's never coming back. Now, let's go to the fraud allegations. So, as you know, we thought that there was fraud involved. And now, apparently, Karen McCarthy's lawyers all think that too. They amended the lawsuit to allege 2 different kinds of fraud. One is criminal fraud. My opinion is this. These things were done in London. It is international. The lawsuit is in a Los Angeles County Court. What would stop Pam Bondi, this Justice Department, and the great white sharks that are working for her now to want to go and investigate this? What else was going on? What other laws were broken? And you got to remember, in closing, this is not the first time that criminal activity, things like this, alleged, have occurred, that people have had to run away from it. Back in 1981, I think that was the year this movie was made, or came out, a movie called The Twilight Zone, produced by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, was being filmed. And this TV actor named Vic Morrow, he was very well regarded, was in the Vietnam sequence. And the rumors were everybody on set on this particular night were all coked out. Steven Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy were not on the premises. Spielberg, being a producer, did not always have to be there. There was a producer on that movie, Frank Marshall. All right. We're going to go through this. And they had 2 Huey helicopters, or 1 Huey. And safety issues, the safety rules were not followed. And the helicopter got in trouble and decapitated both Vic Morrow and the 2 kids he was with. None of the FFA standards for use of a helicopter were followed. Remember the coke? Remember all that? Marshall flees to London. Okay. And a United States Marshal shows up, and the British Embassy is like, okay, fine. They go to the hotel he's at. Let's say it's the Ritz in London, or maybe the Dorchester. They show up and knock on his door, and he says, look, let me pack and I'll go with you. And he had to take a shower too, or something like that. That was the excuse. Packed up all his shit, went out to the airport, got the private jet, and flew to Paris, who do not have an extradition treaty with the United States, because the French are assholes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the historical lesson and the timeline. We go from The Acolyte and the Rey movie overshadowing John and Dave and Ahsoka. We go to the hotel getting canceled, and Willow being pulled off of Disney Plus, while Dial of Destiny is being seen at this movie theater. Kennedy and Marshall both get canceled publicly by Spielberg there in front of the entire Hollywood establishment, right? That's exactly what that was. No one can tell me any different. Because Marshall, the look on Marshall's face is, let's go. Kennedy's trying to hide behind George. All right. And then we get into her being bounced off the network for a time at Lucasfilm, the Nazgul showing up, and the argument she had with Steven Spielberg, or Bob Iger, but, you know, I mean, it's all there. So why did she sell the artwork? And now I'm looking for more. Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.